with whatever you're struggling with, whether it's, mental health issues or issues with your kids, whatever. Someone else is doing the same darn thing you have or struggling with it. So ask for help. We're not alone in this crazy world,
Welcome back to Happiness in Progress. I'm your host, Danielle Craig. I'm an Emmy Award winner, journalist, mom, wife, and just a person looking for more joy in the everyday. This podcast is brought to you by the Mail Tribune. You can find more podcasts at mailtribune.com. I cannot wait for you to get to know today's guest. His name is Ed Chun. He is someone I have respected for a very long time. He's an entrepreneur, businessman, father, husband, and now a recovering addict. He has been clean for more than 2 years. And today, that's what he's going to talk about, his journey through recovery. We're going to talk about how someone who is so successful and so well known in a community can get involved in street drugs. We're going to talk about why recovery worked the second time instead of the first, and his secret to being average and the difference transparency can make in your life. This is a really good conversation, so let's get to it. I want to thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to talk to you about your story.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
I want to jump into the hard stuff. We're going to get right into it. So A couple of years ago, you owned a highly successful business. You were well known across our community. You were involved in everything from politics to nonprofits, even going to DC with one of our representatives. And then you were arrested. Possession of meth. Can you tell me?
January 15th, January 15th, 2018. No, 2018. So like 2.5 years ago or so.
So tell me what happened. How did that happen?
Well, let's just say that, most of my life I was always expected to be the top, succeed. If you do something, do it well. Don't do it unless you're going to be the best at it. So I can say terms like it's okay to be average now, instead of before, because that was never even a topic in my household, So, growing up, son of immigrants. We moved here from Korea when I was 3, so I'm 54 now, so 50-some years ago. And so I was raised with this very drive of entrepreneurship and success. So I used to be out of college. I went and worked in the investment world. So I worked for the Frank Russell companies, and then got moved to Medford by the Cutler and Company, and then a variety of other things. And was at Cascade. So like I said, I had a lot of good successful careers, insurance, finances. All this stuff. So then I always like to cook, and that's the restaurant. People always say, why the restaurant? And the restaurant just kind of came about because I love cooking. And the reality, I think I love helping people. Now that I've really discovered myself, it's not a matter of what it is. I just like helping people get to that next step, next level of whatever their life is. And so I got to the point where I got really bored. You got your house with the white picket fence, and you go back and forth, and you get in your actions, and I mentally I got bored, and I put myself in a bad place and started doing some things that I'm not proud about, but like I said, ultimately ended up basically self-medicating myself with a lot of street drugs. Mm-hmm. And I got picked up on a small possession charge one night in January, and it was a misdemeanor charge, and it's all taken care of. I'm good there, but it was a wake up for me. It was either I made a decision at that point to either change my life or not, and my family had known already because I'd been to rehab once before, about 4 months prior to that day. So I was actually in recovery, then had a relapse is what had happened. And on my relapse is when I got arrested. So it's a good thing I did get that wake-up call, because otherwise it could have been a very bad relapse, and who knows what else could have happened.
Yeah, right. Let's go back to how you were raised and how that played a role in this. What was it about the way you were raised and always needing to be at the top and be the best performer that led you this way?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is more, it's obviously, people, I think it's culturally, that's kind of almost, I think it's almost culturally just expected in the Asian society. And I'm Korean, and so we joke about, an Asian F in my house being an A-, and that's kind of the joke that we talk about. But it's, in reality, that's almost what my life was when I was a child. But I wasn't the only one. I still see it, and it's sad. So really, it's about doing the best you can with what you have. Is what you have, and luckily, I was blessed that I actually am really good at a lot of things and can learn things. So for me, the academics part was real easy. And the thing that I finally found out with myself is that I can't use benchmarks that are like normal matrices or other metrics that people use for measurement, because I really the only person I can really measure against is myself. And I found that when I had the restaurant, I would do these crazy these catering jobs of 400 people, because that was a challenge for me. It was more not that I could do it. It was more that I wanted to do it because I could do it. And so that's kind of how I challenged myself. And then that got boring too. You can only cook so much chicken and pork. And, and the restaurant was really probably my gem of my career, because it really, everything I learned about myself I call it Betty Ford High, when I went down to the desert for 12 weeks, was things like, I learned that I have a condition called OCPD. It's obsessive compulsive personality disorder. It's kind of like being obsessed with efficiencies and, doing things the right way. And, it drives me nuts when I see someone working. It's like, why don't you just move that from there to there and stop walking 12 feet across every time you do that kind of stuff. So those are the things that I stay up late at night thinking about. And I can actually channel that to good things now. And so it's kind of fun. So like I said, I just kind of enjoy being average.
Yeah. So part of your recovery has been being okay with being average.
Yeah. And that was kind of, you probably saw my emails. It said, it's a golf dad. It's really my son Brandon was a really good golfer as part of that crazy St. Mary's team. And, those kids are all still turning it up, and it's fun now because, and when I started playing golf with these kids all the time, I just realized at that point that I'm never going to beat these kids. And I'm a grown adult. And they are so much better than me that golf was really, actually, it drove me nuts at first. It really did, because I couldn't beat my kid at golf. It was 12, and there's other kids like Dylan Blue, who's on the Corn Ferry tour right now. I've never beat that kid, ever. And I met him when he was like 4. So it's amazing how good these kids are. But, it's just that's when I realized, everyone's not good at everything. So I can be an average golfer, but have a lot of fun. We're kind of playing for fun now. But for a while, it was miserable to go golfing. So I quit, I just kind of did other things. But, those are kind of little things that, I'm okay with that. I do a lot of hiking because there's no one to measure against. Hiking, nature, I just bought a kayak, those kind of things, So that's what I'm going to say, stay busy. Just keep myself busy and, but be happy.
Yeah, that's great. What are some of the other tips that you use to stay average and be happy with being average?
Stay average and be happy is brutal transparency. Brutal transparency with what I'm battling and what others are battling. If I was sick with cancer, let's say, you'd want people to know so that you could, with COVID and everything, people, it seems you want to care about each other. And for some reason, if someone has a recovery, has an addiction issue, which is a disease state, it's not like they choose to become alcoholic. They are alcoholics. They're just born that way. And I had the honor of on my this past January, on my 2-year anniversary of picking up my chip, I got to go down and speak at the Betty Ford Center to the patients there at the time, and actually, there's about 200 people in the audience there, I think it was, and I asked them, I said, how many of you guys have told your friends and family back home that you're on vacation? And about a third of the class raised their hand, or the group, and then I said, how about the rest of you? How about who's on a medical, like having a back surgery? And then the other third raised their hand. I said, well, you guys are really all going to have a real tough struggle with this, because you got to let people know what you're going through. They'll help you. And that's what I did. The first time I went to recovery or on vacation.
Did you call it Edcation?
Edcation. You got it, yeah. Edcation. And Ed 2.0 did not come out so well. Ed was like Ed 2.0 beta, and so, yeah, I knew all the logistics. I knew all the stuff, but I came back and did the same old thing. Went back to the same restaurant, same thing that was causing me to get back to where I was. And then before you know it, it'll happen. You get back to what's, and then before you know it, you're right there. And so so round 2, which I knew was going to be my final, personally for myself, final try at it. So I actually did I started writing the post. I flew down. So I started writing the post in the San Francisco airport, and then flew all the way down to the desert. And I actually did a Facebook check-in at the Betty Ford Center.
Wow. And
that probably was the moment for me. And my mom saw that, and she was like, okay, he's good, because that was it. Being transparent. And I think that's with whatever you're struggling with, whether it's, mental health issues or issues with your kids, whatever, someone else is doing the same darn thing you have or struggling with it. So ask for help. We're not alone in this crazy world, I see some people get so angry at things that they shouldn't be concerned about. Because, we should be concerned about it. But in today's world, what can you personally do, Danielle, about, something's happening over in Mozambique, obviously nothing, but you can think about it, be concerned. But the reality is you get more concerns in local, close, right on your house, and things like that. So that's really what I've embraced too, is just, trying to be more local. So I've always been a local business owner. So now we really try to support local if possible.
Mm-hmm. And I like the idea of the impact you can make. You can make an impact in your community and within the circle of the people that you know. Okay, so you talked about checking into the Betty Ford Center on Facebook. I want to go back just a couple days to the arrest. So at that point, your family knows, but you're sitting in your car, the police come up. What's going through your head?
I don't know the specifics, but, basically, I was parked beside the road checking emails and just happened to be in the wrong place, I did the right place at the right time. How you look at it, not the wrong place at the right time, so, if you're a recreational drug user, or street drug user, and, eventually your time's will be up, at some point you're going to do something stupid, whether it's, and I got, it was, I was on the point where it was like, yeah, and I'm just thankful that when it did happen, it was really a misdemeanor, literally there was thank goodness nothing to create major, other issues. So it's kind of, you don't know what your life's going to be. And then you get down to the county, bed and breakfast down there. And it's interesting when half the people walking in know you.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. You're a public person, and you've got to have some realization, like the community is gonna know. Like, were you worried about that?
The first thought was, obviously, the officer was very cool. He said, Ed, we don't need to even tow. He said, we really don't need to tow your car. Can someone come get it? I said, and your mind's everywhere. And I remember at that point, I said, what? And I said, normally I would say just have it, just tow it, just get it down there. But you know what? Just leave it here. And they called my wife and they told her where it was and they told her what was happening. So at least they knew I was alive, because if if someone quits answering their cell phones and text messages these days, you think you're the worst. And the worst was either jail or dead. And luckily mine was the jail, which is better than dead. So it was a week that I should never forget, but it's one that's going to, that I really think led up to what my decision was because I could have made the decision when I went south, hey, just keep doing what I'm doing and see what the results are or decide to make a change.
Mm-hmm. You are in a mode of transparency now. I mean, you're talking about your journey now. You share it with other people and people learn and grow from you. In the beginning, making this decision to post on Facebook, was that scary?
Oh yeah. But, it's one, when you part of being in the rooms, as they say, the meetings and I'm not a meeting person. I don't go to a lot of meetings. I never really, I found that at first it was almost after the first education, I did my 90 and 90, went to my meetings, but then I found it's easier because everybody, I can talk to that guy and get some, whatever. But for me, it was a hard thing. But you find your people is and with technology now, and this is one thing that we come about with COVID is it's actually interesting. All of our friends in recovery that we talk to, we have a really strong group from Betty Ford that we met, and it's kind of ironic that technology has kind of kept us together. And then with COVID hitting, everyone kind of worried about the meetings because AA meetings are they hold hands, they hug, they do a lot of touch, and that's gone. So we were worried, but our group had already been doing that. We do weekly texts and group texts, and we're following up on each other. So just that, that was always the hardest part. When I did relapse, that was probably the hardest text to send to the group of guys I met the first time. But these guys, I met a bunch of great guys up north, whatever, but I don't keep in touch with them because I wasn't ready at that moment. That to me, that just really proves that inside me, I wasn't ready at education. Betty Ford High, yeah, that worked out great. So like I said, I committed so much. So when we got down there, we did 12 weeks. So I committed to being 12 weeks down there. Of course, it was January in Oregon and January in Palm Springs, but I was blessed to be able to go down there. But what was unique was the the amount of people that, people that you see from all over the world, walks of life that come there, broken, kids, grandparents. And then of course, when I spoke a year later, or 2 years later, say, there were people that were sitting with me. They were back there again, back for their round 2 or 7 or, I think 14 rehabs by the age of 21 was the most I heard of anyone that I was, and, it's a sad thing. So, addiction is brutal, whether it's addiction to, handheld devices or food or exercise or anything. So, I just always say, hey, I'm an addict. I'm an addict of everything. So I just take everything in moderation and including moderation, so every so often you just got to have a day that you just go eat ice cream all day. But, I would eat ice cream every day if I could. I actually do usually. So, yeah.
Tell me about the change that had to occur within you between that first and second stint in rehab. What was the thing that had to happen within you that made you ready?
For me, I don't know, is this G-rated, or I just quit giving a shit, about what other people thought, other people cared, it doesn't matter, I have people that still won't look at me. Screw am I, I've got, our neighborhood's been about as cold as it could be with, but who cares, and ironically, I work in the cannabis industry legally, and I've always been a medical cannabis user. I stuck to medical cannabis the whole time. I would have been fine. So now, it's ironic because I was now talking to a bunch of my elderly neighbors in my current neighborhood. It's kind of interesting because they're like, I think he sells marijuana, and I'm like, it's okay, it's legal, man. It's like if I was a beer salesman, just saying, it's okay if you're drunk, I guess, but no, that's kind of one of the stigmas. And I was like, oh, well, I've actually had someone say, well, why that? Why meth? I said, why whatever? It was one that I got caught with. How's that? That's what I told them. And I said, no. I said, it's, why not? I'd be more worried with the opioid crisis. Like I said, there's so many things out there that are so readily available to us, or people that want to find something to do with. I'm looking at sitting here in my apartment here, and I see a simple can of dust off. And I was cleaning my keyboard, but I had to put, people now look at it like, well, why do you have this? I go, really? And I still get that, so, and everyone gets that. So it's something you live with, so you must own it. That was kind of my thought, because I can either let people talk about it behind my back, or I can talk to them right to their face about it. So.
Yeah. And you have so much to be proud of. That's what is hard for me to understand, that people would continue to talk behind your back when you have conquered so much. You've got that 2-year chip. Are you on 2.5 years at this point?
2.5 years. But yeah, I just I collect my annual ones when I see a friend. It's a cool experience to have gone with what I've gone through.
For someone listening, and I know so many people who have walked through similar journeys, and I know so many people who have lost people who didn't make it to rehab. What would you tell them about the stigma? What do you want them to understand about stigma?
It's everyone's struggle is different, and it was interesting. It's like you especially when you're in that situation where you're just sharing your guts out, and also, if you didn't cry all day, if you didn't get the donkey tears, you weren't trying hard enough. That's kind of the joke that we used to use, but there's a lot of stuff that got dug up. Things that I didn't even know about. Job interviews have been interesting because especially, and this is what people always wonder about, is because I've had a couple very nice, I've interviewed very well since then. Because how do you interview and knowing that most people get Googled, right? I think most employers Google their input, so if you put in, things show up. So don't go Googling that stuff, because I don't need that lovely photograph backup. But I left it. You can pay to get anything wrong. About why? It's public record. And so when I had job interviews, now I lead. I open them with, when people ask, well, what's important to me? I said, my recovery, first of all, because if I'm not in a good place myself, then I'm worthless to my family, you guys as an employer, and everyone else. So I said, my recovery comes first, and that's got to be the reality. And I said, and I just throw that right out there. January 15th, I said, tell them what happened. I tell them what I've done, and boom. And so many of my friends from down south who were, called me, hey, I'm glad. The younger kids, I'm glad hey, I go, remember, be open, because they're gonna run your driver record, buddy, and they know that you took that ping pong. You did that night of joyriding and you took out 17 cars. That's gonna show up. So just own it. And everyone has owned it as they actually use it as a tool to themselves. And that's to me that's been the coolest part, where people come up to me that man say, hey, what you told me, what you said, helped me. And I've had that a couple times where people come up and just say, hey, thank you for doing that. I said, what? I'm just being honest. And that's there it is, right there, being honest. You know what? I could be a major certifiable a-hole if I want to be, but I choose not to be, because trust me, nice Ed's much more pleasant than not nice Ed.
I think that's really, really great advice. Coming back to the honesty, coming back to the transparency. So when you came back from Betty Ford, you made some big decisions to change parts of your life. You walked away from your restaurant. Tell me about making those decisions. I sold it to my sister. I sold my half of it to my sister while I was down there. And ironically, it was on the 8th, exactly on the 8th anniversary of the day that we opened. Wow. That I transferred. So she's been down there. We've been down over 10 years now, or she has been down. But yeah, so it was 8 years of Sunrise Cafe, and then now it's Auntie Carol's Hawaiian Cafe. Tell me about making that decision. To step away.
It's one of the things that they say is that to be successful in recovery, you have to make major changes in your life. And when I looked at what was causing me unpleasantness and things, it was a lot of things that ultimately tied to some of the things that came from just being, first of all, being a workaholic when first I was in the restaurant was just enormously ridiculous. I was putting 16-hour days all the time. And then when that normalized, now I was working 12 hours, so I had 4 hours to be an idiot. And it was like I said, it was a moment that, so I thought about that, and that was the decision we made as a family, my wife and I, and the kids. And so we pulled the plug, we just sold it, and it was a very amicable deal the way it worked out, and I can't, and it's her business now, so I don't even, they make decisions, and that's not, I don't have to worry about it. At first it really was hard when I saw, what are they doing? But, it's not in my lane. It's not on my side of the street, as they say. So it was just, like I said, making changes are good as long as they're good changes. And, and that's what we've done. But, the main thing I realized, at the end of the day, you just got to believe in yourself, have faith in yourself. And, everyone has a higher power. I'm not going to preach the whole God thing here or whatever you want, but, someone's got to have, everyone has to have something that someone, or whatever it is that they, look up to. And then just love the ones that you should do, your family. Every morning when you wake up, be blessed and be thankful that you woke up. Every night when you go to bed. I just heard this from my Rotary International president. Speaking of, I was a Rotary Club president too, founded a Rotary Club, all this stuff I did, right? But he said that as long as he went to bed at night knowing that he made one person's life better that day, it was a blessed day for him. I kind of took that mantra too. If I made one person's day better, hopefully I made your day better today. So it's already a good day. It's only 9:35.
I know. It's been so great to talk to you too. It's been such a long time.
My first podcast ever. This is my first one.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you shared your story. It sounds like you've really been able to walk away from some of the stuff like perfectionism and control, and you've been able to start setting boundaries.
Life's a lot easier if you lower your expectations of sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really hard when you are a type A personality who wants to get everything right and be at the top of your game all the time. I feel that. The last question I always ask is, what is your number one tip for finding more joy in the everyday, whether it's the good, the bad, or the in-between?
Mindfulness. Just be mindful. It's like, I heard somebody say, oh, well, I only made $100 today. Well, it could have been $0, or is that all I get? Well, be thankful that you get, because as a child I used to be hungry. We were poor, and I remember being hungry. So I remember being thankful for food. So just be mindful of the moment, because what you think sucks might not be something for someone else. So.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
All right.
I just so appreciate Ed. I hope that you appreciated this conversation and have taken away some valuable insights. And with that, I want to thank you so much for being here on Happiness in Progress.